Hello, it's the Eurogamer.net podcast number 100.
Woo!
Are we all very excited?
Woo!
Was that not implied?
Is that yes? I'm Tom Champion. Here today, Ollie Welsh.
Hello.
Hi, Ollie. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Tom. And yourself?
Oh, I feel great. Yeah, wonderful. Tom Bramwell's here too.
Hello.
It's been a little while. How you doing?
How am I doing? What?
Exactly. And fresh from her 9-month
Labour.
sponsored Jambo Safari Marathon, I was going to say.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm
It's
having
Gibson.
a respite. I'm having a holiday from my biological holiday to be here as, I hope, a special guest on today's podcast.
You are a very special guest. It's amazing that you're here.
Arguably, you are the glue that is going to hold this podcast together.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to remind you that I haven't slept for more than 2 hours in a row for over 6 months.
Well,
so
that's fairly common to video game players, I was led to believe. So
yeah.
In fact, I believe that's how you practiced for having a baby, was playing video games.
Yeah, I've also spent a lot of that time cleaning up spilt, sick and wee. So again, I think we'll be fine.
Based on what you've told me about your university education and subsequent life, that sounds like not much of a
business as usual. Let's press on.
Well, it's fitting that for podcast 100 there's nothing really out this week to talk about. No
I thought you were going to say that the dream team is back together, but now
Well,
you're just like, then we've got nothing to say.
We'll be together.
Which, you're right, it's more apposite.
This was a lineup for podcast number 1, wasn't it?
Sure.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Wasn't there a
No.
fifth member? Wasn't it like the Beatles? There was a fifth member, and then like he did some drugs or something, or
Careful.
was that? Yeah, sorry, it's a bit soon. Never mind, carry on.
It's a bit soon for the Beatles. Never mind.
Just press on.
The Beatles, who I can't remember who said this, but are dying in the wrong order.
Yeah, absolutely true.
Ah.
Is this a thing?
I don't know.
Okay.
I should probably be quiet. Paul can probably hear us from here, like we are in Brighton.
Brilliant. So I thought, what better way to celebrate than to open up this podcast to the listeners and the readers. So
it's going to be a short one.
I wrote some of them down earlier.
You've written them yourself, Tom. Though they're
in your handwriting. Exactly.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Anyway,
you in a dream. Okay, let's carry on.
So I got a bunch of questions. The first of which is from regular podcast listener. You will know him as Das Ginge.
Das Ginge.
The regular podcast listener, I believe, for his full title.
The listener. And he's got a topical question. What games would you like to see kickstarted? This is in response to the recent Double Fine.
Indeed. Well, in sort of in the spirit of also bringing Ellie up to date on things that she may not have read about on the internet
I have no idea what's been happening. Is there a PlayStation 3 yet? What's going on?
Four.
Four?
No. Oh, never mind. Anyway, so this was the story of like last week after some planning, Double Fine, who made Psychonauts and stuff like that, ran a thing on Kickstarter, which is a fundraising tool for crowdsourcing funding for your development projects, and tried to raise $400,000 to fund the development of a new adventure game, a point-and-click adventure game, and very quickly raised $1.6 million.
Ooh.
Mainly from people who saw it on Twitter, which is quite impressive. So yeah, that's the background.
Wow.
And Tom and Das Ginge in this case are asking what would we like to see kickstarted.
Well, my own project, which is an idea for a Just Dance / Jambo Safari / Farmville clone.
What would that be called?
Just Farm Safari, obviously, Jambo.
Just farm rhino horns.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be amazing.
Okay.
Wow, you can decimate the world's population of Indonesian rhino
So-
whilst also
Absolutely.
getting fit.
So hang on a second.
Give us £1. Go on. That's got to be worth £1.
So hang on a second, you're basically saying that your ideal Kickstarter project is a Zynga game? Because
My
I don't
own-
think they need funding.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably right there. Well done, Tim Schafer,
Yeah.
because, he
That's
needs
pretty
some
cool.
money.
Well, it's pretty cool though. I mean, like they're going to make a point-and-click adventure.
Wow, if only someone- that's amazing. What a fresh new idea.
Yeah, but with a $1.6 million
Congratulations.
budget, like that's ridiculous.
For that money, I would expect the thing you click on to be made of solid gold. Everything in the game.
Well, it may well be. Is this a good idea? Is this?
Hang on, we haven't done our Kickstarter games yet. What if Ollie and I had opinions?
Well, D.
Ollie may have. Ollie, you have an opinion.
Well, again,
opinion.
I don't know. Vib
Good
Ribbon,
opinion.
Vib Ribbon 2.
Vib Ribbon.
I think
Ooh,
also
that's a good idea.
you haven't thought very hard about who you're talking to see what game I would like kickstarted.
Is it Viva Pinata 3?
It is Viva Pinata 3. In fact, I may actually do this after the podcast.
I would like
Viva Pinata
to
3.
pay Nintendo £1 million to make something new that's not Mario or Zelda or
That would be
Fitness.
even
kinda cool.
Pikmin 3.
Didn't we sort of do that by buying the 3DS at £230
Well, you would think.
though? Anyway,
Yeah.
I've got an idea for a Kickstarter project. If Tim Schafer, who is a guy who, he's relatively successful and popular, but if he can raise $1.6 million in basically a day, surely I can raise $375 million to buy Rare back off Microsoft and get them to make Viva Pinata 3.
Go ahead.
Think about it.
I
Don't think
you're gonna
about it.
get very
Don't
far.
think about it. Don't think about it.
No. Okay. Do you think this whole Kickstarted thing? Do you think this is the dawn of a new era
No.
of games development?
Or not really. I feel like
Or the funding of?
I thought it was kind of cool that happened, but a lot of it was owed to the fact that it was Tim Schafer, a genre that a lot of people who probably are quite old and have deep pockets at this point do care about. And it was tweeted by Notch, who has the ability to drive basically 600,000 people towards anything he wants. It was the perfect storm of perfect conditions. So it does to me feel like a bit of an outlier rather than a new dawn for anything. Not to say it's not cool. It's awesome.
The other thing is you've got to be a genuinely independent studio to do it, and actually there's only so many of those around that are of enough of a stature that they have a big fan base the way Double Fine does.
Yeah, it's not like EA's going to turn around and kickstart Desert
So
Strike.
no, like you're not
Is it? I mean-
you're not going to see this kind of money that often. That said, I think it's an interesting new avenue for indies
Yeah.
to, on a much smaller scale, to get projects off the ground. And you're talking about getting 10 grand so the guy can actually do it, during the day rather than having to work a shitty job for 6 months while he tries to make a game.
Potentially brilliant means of money laundering as well. Just off the top of
There
my
we
head.
go. Well, if the Russian oligarchs get involved, then sky's the limit.
Wow.
Kickstarting.
Is there not? You're kind of doing yourself out a whole bunch of sales.
Why?
To my mind, because
What, by making
50,000
Viva Pinata
people-
3? What are you suggesting?
50,000 people have contributed to this
Yeah.
development, and they get a free copy of the game as
Yeah.
part of that. So you're just shifting some of a whole chunk of money that you would have got anyway to the beginning of development, rather than.
But I haven't actually read the small print on this, but isn't basically the point that people are effectively pre-ordering the game? Do they actually get money back if from royalties and shit?
No.
So...
Okay. So it's
Because that's really cool. Because if they're basically spending $1.6 million developing a game specifically for the people who paid money for
it's
it,
going to be a lot more than that, I think.
well, even if it's like $2 million or whatever, that's pretty awesome. If they don't actually have to make any money from it because they've already got the money from the consumers, they can make it whatever they want. They could make Day of the Tentacle 2 or something. It doesn't matter if it's successful. Almost they don't. They almost they could try to sell loads and loads and loads, but they wouldn't have marketing costs or any of this crap because the audience is already there. Then again, I haven't read the small print, so I may be completely wrong.
Well, we'll see what happens, I suppose.
Cool, good insight.
Insightful. Yeah.
Hey,
I thought
That's why
I thought
of another
analysis.
game that I would like to kickstart.
go ahead.
This was a game concept that a friend of mine had that I've always thought was completely brilliant, which is a racing game through the photorealistic streets of a city, except you're all animals. But you might be like a cat, so you can run along the tops of fences and you can do lots of really agile parkour. Or you could be a rhino, so you can't steer very well and it takes a while to get up to speed, but you can just smash through things. I always thought that sounded like an amazing game, so I would
That's
like to. I
genius.
might just put it up on Kickstarter.
That's what
tomorrow.
Tokyo Safari, is that what it was called?
Tokyo Jungle.
Tokyo Jungle should have been.
Yeah.
You don't even really need to do it with photorealistic graphics. You just do it with stylized world, really, as long as you had animals with different abilities and things.
Yes.
Well,
You want to
let's
turn this in.
kickstart.
You want to put this in the Viva Pinata universe, don't you?
Well, let's
No,
kickstart
that's
this
not the
idea
idea.
right here. Let's steal it from your friend and let's kickstart it right here on this podcast. If every single person listening to this podcast gave us just £50,000 each, we could get this idea off the ground right now.
Well,
We'd
that-
have £50,000.
That does assume that Dash Ginge has £50,000. But if he does and he's prepared to give it to us, then Yeah.
Right.
It might work out.
David Turners wants to know.
David Tennant?
Yeah,
Doctor
David.
Who?
Yeah, that's him.
Awesome.
If you had to play a game from start to finish 100 times, what game would you choose? I couldn't play any game for 100 times over.
You've played Skyrim for 5,000 hours.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the shortest game I've ever played.
I've played Temple Run about 800,000
Yeah, I think
times.
I've played that 100 times.
Yeah.
You finished it.
It's infinite, isn't it? You
Well,
can't finish
I've
it.
beaten Ellie and Taty back to the Stone Age in score terms, so I think I finished it.
Yeah.
Tom Bramwell driving the fun out of games.
It's true, I do ruin games for everyone. Do you remember that year that I ruined Pac-Man Championship Edition for you?
No, you see, you didn't ruin it for me, you just improved it for yourself. There's a difference. I just kind of stopped caring.
Taking this question vaguely seriously, and also
like
with
the
like
spirit of the
a
podcast.
game that has an end and is of a meaningful length, I would play Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, just because I laugh constantly whilst playing it and it brings me joy.
Aww.
And I think that would last until about the 15th go, so obviously I've still got quite a lot of purgatory to go through.
It's a tricky one.
There are-
when you do take the question seriously. I'm trying to think. Ico's, no, I've done that 4 times. That's quite boring now.
No, you see, Ico's a fantastic experience the first time, and it's sort of nostalgic the second time, and after that
Yeah.
it's quite boring.
Viva
That's
Pinata
hard.
obviously is like an open world game in many respects, an open garden game, so it doesn't really apply.
Is there an endpoint? There is an endpoint to view.
Yeah, I once you get the Dragon Ash, you've pretty much gone through every animal at that point. There's like not a great deal left to do.
I've played so many iterations of Diner Dash that I feel like I have played it 100 times, start to finish, because it's basically all the same game, just with different animals in. Or whatever.
I've probably, I don't know, I'm probably just saying this because I've only just finished it 10 years after everyone else, but Resident Evil 4 is one of the best games I've ever played. I can easily imagine myself playing through that several more times in my
100
life.
times though, really?
Well, if I didn't have any other commitments.
Well, well, yeah.
I'm assuming that's
You
like
just dedicate your life
It's
to
not
playing
because it's not
Resident
like every day, get home from work.
No.
Damn it, I've still got another 97 playthroughs of this to ram in before I die. Is this a thing he's proposing?
Well,
that we do?
is David Tennant said there's a game that he has played 100 times.
No.
Or something. Oh, right.
I can't, with those kind of games, I can't imagine doing it, but at the same time, I know that I've started a game of Drop 7 at least 200 times, so, and I've probably put equivalent number of hours into it.
Something with like randomly generated content that doesn't suck, like
Temple Run.
yeah, I don't know, Diablo 3, something, Diablo 2.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's quite a long game, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's also very samey. It's randomly. It will
yeah.
keep you going for a long time, but
What's something that
eventually-
has like the best AI of any shoot or action game?
I'd still go with the first Halo for that,
Yeah,
but it's got some bits which
yeah, I do find the first Halo a little
the
tedious
59th time you started the library, you would that would it. That would be it. Stick your head
the
in the oven.
59th, yeah, I think you're right. It's probably around in the 50s somewhere.
Mm.
Do you think there are Warcraft players who have taken 100 different characters up to the level cap?
I don't think that's possible to do in a human lifetime.
Oh, really?
Actually, no, it probably is. If you're really good at speed leveling, there'll be people who've certainly done dozens. Yeah.
See, the thing is, we're forgetting that in the olden days, well, Ollie and I are forgetting, you two were probably about 2 months old, but in the olden days, you couldn't save games, so you had to play.
Yeah.
Like Sonic the Hedgehog
Yeah, but
2,
you didn't-
I'm sure I've played the first 3 worlds of that.
But
Exactly.
that's it.
100
That's the
times
first
because
3
you had to
worlds.
start
though.
with
There'll be
That's not
people who
like the
played
whole game.
No,
Manic
it's
Miner
not.
100 times. Yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
God, imagine that. I didn't like that mine. Sorry.
Yeah, or Super Mario Brothers. All those games you had to start from the beginning every go.
Yeah,
Dark Days.
Super Mario Brothers 3 I probably played from the start to at least most of the way through a good dozen times or more.
Okay. Hobnobs or wagon wheels?
Hobnobs.
Hobnobs, yeah.
Yeah. Wagon wheels, rubbish, aren't they, really?
I didn't know this thing.
Massively overrated.
Yeah.
Who was that question from?
I
The
don't know,
makers
actually.
of McVitie's.
McVitie's.
It's just market research, it wasn't. It's a spammer.
You're offering. I didn't realise. You got. You actually got.
100 episodes on, have we got the sound levels right? James is here now.
Yeah. Probably.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you?
Probably. Who the said that shit?
I'll find him. I will find him. Here's a vaguely serious question. Are gamers respected today? Says Proteus XL. Perhaps in response to our recent article.
This is interesting, actually. I was reading this thing in the Observer on Sunday, revealing quite a lot about myself with that statement, by a playwright called Lucy Prebble, and it was an article about like she works in writes plays and stuff, and she was writing about her experiences playing games and why they need to be taken seriously as a medium, as an art form. And it was a really well-argued piece, but it got me thinking, as she was talking about people who are sort of critics of games, and I just thought, why does that exist? What are there like critics of film as a medium, or critics of books? Yes, critics of books often complain that they're a very sedentary pursuit. One has to sit down quite a lot to read them.
There are some. I think film has mostly disappeared by now, but it had decades of people saying exactly the same. It rots your brain stuff.
Yeah.
And TV still has it. People still think that television is fundamentally tacky and pointless.
Yeah, speaking of someone who's very closely watched the latest season of America's Next Top Model, the All Stars edition, I can personally vouch for the fact that's not true.
I guess there's a generational thing as well, isn't there? I mean, we always used to say this, but when the politicians were all saying we were evil and we were going to shoot people because we play Mario Kart, that we sort of didn't really listen to them because they weren't of our generation. We knew they would become irrelevant over time.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that now. People like Tom Watson and whatever who are in government who, play games and don't have mental views about them. I think it's. There are people who still treat gamers with a certain amount of disdain, but they'll be dead soon. So
I think it's changed. I don't get like those reactions when I tell people what I do for a living. I mean, I still get the every boy's dream, and I have to explain that it is actually a job. But I don't get any hostile reactions from people. Most people think, oh, that's cool. You're working in a creative industry. And that's from people in their 50s and 60s, and they have iPhones and they play Angry Birds on them, so they get it to some extent. So I think it has, we're not 100% there, but I think it's changed a lot. And if you look at what happened to film, we're probably another decade or two away from widespread cultural acceptance, but it's changing very fast. And that's because people in their 30s, 40s, 50s have now grown up with games, and those people are now the opinion formers. They've become the establishment in society. So, also, I don't know if that's the right question, really. Are gamers respected? Because there isn't. We don't talk about film goers. I think it's the very concept of gamers as a body of people that causes this kind of discussion to come around.
Well, I guess it's because we've been ghettoised for quite a large period of our upbringing, while simultaneously emerging as the first full-on internet generation at a time when also a hell of a lot of old-style jobs are disappearing in favour of internet jobs and computer jobs.
So we're the master race, is that what you're saying?
What I will
Thanks
say
to recent
is
developments
that
in eugenics, we are realising our dream.
What I will say is that
world.
if I was to put together some sort of plan for this, well, let's just say final solution to me is a tautology. I think it's just a solution.
Great.
I'm really not sure there's anywhere we can go with that.
I'd quite like us to change the subject quite quickly, actually.
We're quite judgmental of our fellow gamers, aren't we?
Well, would you mean people who are rubbish at Pac-Man?
Is that you, Ellie?
I guess so.
But no.
So I missed you, Ellie. So I want to.
I
to
know.
pick on you.
I, for instance, am quite hard on anyone who plays Halo Online because I'm sure that they're all really annoying. And Call of Duty as well. Sorry,
Cool.
I've offended pretty much everyone.
Well, I was going to say, because that's all of the gamers you've just attacked.
Yeah. Okay, we should probably move on.
I mean, have you ever taken a dislike to someone because of I know that people take a dislike to me because I like Farmville. People use that piece of information to make a personal judgment about me, which is entirely correct. So maybe we should all stop judging each other, before we start.
Well, that's just human nature. Tribes. It's like tribes in music who.
Great game.
Yeah. No. Okay.
Skiing.
Great TV show on Channel 5 on Saturday afternoons in the late 90s.
Sorry,
Tribes?
I can't remember what he was talking about, but I feel like we've got in the way of it.
Yeah, sorry. What?
Yeah.
Tautology?
Right.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Gary Irwin wants us to talk about the Commodore 64. Has anyone got anything to say about the Commodore 64?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm reading all the questions you've got.
I had a Spectrum, so obviously it's a piece of trash, and it was only owned by Scum.
I had an Amstrad CPC 464, which obviously because it had a 4 in front of the 64 was an infinitely better machine.
My first games console was a PlayStation 3, obviously, because I'm 10 years old. No, I am ashamed to say that is before my time.
I don't know. I mean, well, I do mean that, but I also don't mean that. It was an amazing time though. I thought of this the other day because I was thinking about my Spectrum 48K, which I still have and which still works. And when my dad brought that, all my brother did was write programs on it, and all I did was play games on it. And he is now a programmer, and I play games for a living. So that machine.
So there we go.
Not only do I remember it very fondly, it literally, created our destinies.
Yeah,
it's a holy object.
Well, I remember.
And I assume that there are some other Commodore 64s that have that same kind of resonance for some other people out there. They did have better keyboards, I'll give you that.
It's a very chunky keyboard.
Yeah, it was a nice piece of kit.
I used to get Amstrad Action magazine, great title, and in the back it had like the programs that you would type in, and you had to get them absolutely every letter absolutely perfectly, otherwise you wasted literally 3 hours of your life. And I think I did one. I typed in one program, and unsurprisingly, it didn't work.
Yeah,
and that was it. And that was just like, well, that's rubbish. And now I criticise games for a living. There's no way I could ever be bothered to make one.
The irony is, Ellie, that some of the most successful games of the day, such as Skyrim, were programmed where people did type in a lot of the wrong letters, judging by how they work. So you could have, if you just persisted with that.
I could have been a famous games designer.
It turns out you don't need to get the spelling correct.
My first encounter with video games in any way was actually a book of games in BASIC.
Sounds like you're doing it wrong.
That you could type in and then play. I think I got one out of about 5 of them to work. Then it was on to Inca Curse on the ZX81 after that.
Someone showed me how to write a little basic program where you wrote like 20 go to 10 print Ellie is the best, like repeat or something, and so you could infinitely go Ellie is the best, and that was I thought it was amazing, but that was like as far as I ever wanted to
once in W.H. Smith's I did one of those, but I made it go through because the Auric Atmos, which was an incredible piece of kit, had like some pre-programmed cool sound effects in it that went like zap and bing, and I think there was an explosion as well. And I did one of those programs that cycled endlessly through the sound effects, and then I realised that I didn't know how to break a program on an Auric Atmos, so I just had to leave it making those annoying noises and run sheepishly out of the shop.
Brilliant.
Oh, good old days. But you see, this is what you missed out on.
What are you talking about? I can go into an Apple store and load up Goatsy if I want to. It's basically the same thing, isn't it?
I guess.
It's the same spirit. Dash Ginger also wants to know if you're looking forward to Mass Effect 3 and how you're going to manage your addiction.
Oh, Mass Effect 3. I am, although I'm kind of I've actually through not really deliberately, but just circumstance, completely ignored all the pre-release coverage of this really. So I think I saw the original teaser trailer way back when. I don't know whether I'm going to bother.
You're not going to bother?
No, I'm going to play it. I'm going to play it, but I don't know if I care about importing my character. Because like when I reviewed 2, I had to review it on a debug machine, so I wasn't able to import my character anyway. And only later, when I played it on a retail, was I able to. And I didn't really like my original Shepard in the first game. I get always really like annoyed with my characters after a while. I want to change them.
Mine looks like a square-jawed buffoon.
Yeah. Skip to the end. Basically, I might start it from scratch without taking my character over. No, but the other thing is, like, 2 of my guys died at the end of Mass Effect 2. Well, spoiler, but you know, I think it's, yeah. Do you know what happens at the end of Tetris as well? I don't want to spoil that.
This Russian guy just keeps playing this music.
What does happen at the end of Tetris? Nobody knows.
No one knows
because it doesn't end.
If you finish the level, like the level mode thing, you get the rocket going up in the sky. Anyway, spoiler. So yeah, I'll probably just start a new save. I don't want 2 guys died. I don't want them. I liked them. I don't want them to. I don't want them to be dead.
If you don't need to import your save, you can play it on your shiny new PC as well, and that'd be fun.
That's actually what I was planning to do. Come to think of it, yeah. Because I've been waiting for a new, exciting multi-platform game to come out to start on my shiny new PC. I thought it was going to be Kingdoms of Amalur, and then I realised when I started playing it that it probably isn't going to be Kingdoms of Amalur because it's really boring. But I'm sure it gets really good because your review was really convincing. I just don't know whether I've got the patience.
Yeah, and it takes some to get through those opening hours.
Yeah, but
Well,
yeah, I reckon
playing Mass Effect 3 on the Commodore 64, so I better start typing it in now.
Oh god, you have to type in all the dialogue.
I loved Mass Effect 2 though. I know that's not a surprise because I gave it 10 out of 10 and generally wanked all over it, but I loved it so much. So I am going to play Mass Effect 3. It is probably my most anticipated game of Q1.
Q1?
Yeah.
Q1 financial year or Q1 calendar year? Okay, just to be clear.
Got to be clear.
Spot the ex-editor of GamesIndustry.biz.
That's right. All business, all the time.
That's James also wants to know, what do you guys think will fill the void of game if it collapses?
I don't think it will collapse. I think what will happen is that the games publishers in this country will find a way to help support it. I think they did this effectively with HMV, where they all got involved. Because it's really vital to the UK games industry that we have a specialist retailer. I know there's a sort of tendency around these things to go, oh, they've all screwed it up, it's going to collapse, but we should never cheerlead this stuff. Like, if we don't have a specialist games retailer, it's not like all of those sales are suddenly going to go to Amazon. It's just not going to happen. And also, the supermarkets will, you know how they're basically in a price war with games retail and stuff at the moment, and everyone's trying to undercut each other. Yeah, they'll stop doing that, and they'll just stop having an interest in it. They'll either raise the prices back to what they were before, or what they should be, or they'll just something else will come along and they'll stop that instead. It's going to be very, very bad if game goes under, so the publishers won't let it happen.
I was going to say another pound shop, but that answer sounds better.
I know we have this sort of weird semi-rivalry with Game now because they do a games show and we do the Eurogamer Expo, but it would be demented if they to say that we wanted them to,
I mean,
we
need
game.
a healthy
we need
industry.
Game in the UK. We need a specialist games retailer, and they are it. And we need to support them.
It's not going to be Granger Games stepping into the void.
What about Game Station?
with their gnomes.
Game Station is owned by Game these days.
Oh
Yeah.
See, that GamesIndustry.biz hat fell off long ago after all.
I mean, I'm not saying buy stuff there. I think they should just sort their act out. But
Okay.
publishers will sort them out.
Okay.
Sort your act out, Game. They'll be playing this at their AGM. That's what we need to do.
AGM, which is actually almost an anagram of game.
Oh my god, it's brilliant.
I bet when they have their presentation, it's like the AGM, they have like their PowerPoint up, and the letters just start zooming around, and then the E falls off your hat, and it just says AGM in the game font.
We should do that at the Eurogamer AGM.
Oh, we have got all the letters in there as well.
I think we've even got a copy of PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Not a legal one though.
It is a legal one, I'll have you know.
Sorry.
Yeah, Rupert typed it in from magazine.
Is the Capri Sun Champions drink named after Tom Champion?
I don't know. You'll have
Can
to
I
answer
say,
that,
I'm
mate.
glad you've called it Capri Sun because I've always called it Capri Sun, and then a few years ago
It's gotta
I
be
was
Capri
openly
Sun.
laughed at by a couple of people who said, no, it's Capri Sun. One
No,
that
that's
was
the
American.
car, surely.
Well, that's what I was like. I was like, Capri Sun.
Which
is
hip,
Germanic.
exciting individuals was it that criticised you for
I
this?
don't. They're not even worth mentioning on this. They're not even my friends anymore.
Well, they're certainly
To be
not
quite
listeners, I wouldn't have thought.
No.
Well, yeah, but the
Banned.
car's a Capri and it's the same word, so I say it the same way.
Controversial.
I'm trying to think of an example. Where that's
It's my
not
drink.
true.
It's not my drink.
I don't recognise any drinks other than Diet Coke.
Anyway, what's the question? What's your favourite flavour of Capri Sun?
Yeah, why not?
The original orange, not when they went all orange juice and they started doing the juice, but it had a smiley face on the packaging, and so you buy thinking it was Capri Sun and it was like actual juice, and that was just very confusing. I'm glad they stopped doing that.
Good.
This is like that Commodore 64 conversation. I just feel alienated and confused.
They still make them, don't they?
What, Commodore 64s?
No, they don't.
They bring them back.
Last question.
Can you really? We've got to drag this out for a bit longer. Come on.
Yeah, I
This
know.
is podcast 100.
Well, yeah.
We can do some nostalgia or something.
Yeah, remember the time?
That we. Yeah, right. Okay.
Something. Remember the Venga Boy special?
Oh, that was a good
That was
day.
unpopular.
Remember the end of year quiz?
Oh, that was great. Where Ellie and I basically had a fight.
Yeah, that was excellent.
Sorry, go on then. What's the question?
That's Ginge again.
Oh, he's really holding podcast 100
Yeah,
together
he's
with his
he's
fingertips.
We should owe him some money.
Give him £50,000.
What do you think is the biggest change in gaming since episode 1 of the podcast? And what will be the biggest change in the next 100?
Damn it, he's good. Can we replace you with him?
I am up for that.
When did we record episode 1 then?
January 2010. January 2010.
2 years ago.
2 years. So much can happen in 2 years, and yet I can't remember any of it.
You got married and had a baby.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's what Dash Gins wants to hear.
Well, those are quite large changes to gaming. For you.
Absolutely. One of only 4 women in games managed to have a baby. Well done.
App Store.
Yeah.
I know it's boring.
Yeah,
but
you're right.
the correct answer.
All that stuff that happened last year. The middle of the market falling out.
Yeah.
So we only have sort of blockbuster games and indie/mobile stuff. Really, everything else kind of a bit pinched out and not relevant anymore. What's another big change? Well, I guess the decision, presumably not taken lightly, by Microsoft not to continue with the Viva Pinata series after 2 successful instalments, I think.
Yes.
Commercially, maybe not so much. Critically, definitely.
In all honesty, it's been a bit of a boring couple of years. Is that
No, it hasn't.
controversial?
Well, look at
There's
this
been
way.
no new hardware. There's been the changes that have been, like at least they've been in, or like you've said, have been in the business models and the companies that have survived and the companies that have grown up.
On the one hand, you've got a story of entrenched conservatism on the part of publishers who have become much more risk averse. It's like I was saying to you over lunch. Like, you've been away for 12 months, but all the games you're coming back to are the same ones that they were making last year.
Well, that's what I suppose I mean, and I feel like it's been like that for a couple
That's
of
true,
years.
but that's only one story. I think, aside from that, we've also seen things like the massive rise in success and popularity of independent development. I mean, there are certain cases that are unlike all of the others. Like Minecraft is an example of effectively a new genre having been created and validated by millions of people buying into it. A new model of development created and validated by millions of people buying into it. And we've also seen through the coattails of that, as much as anything, independent developers becoming far more successful on a far wider scale across a far wider range of formats. As I think it was Tim Schafer was saying in an interview with that sexy new website Hookshot Inc., which launched today, which is made by some of our friends. He was saying that the very landscape of platforms, where you go with your projects as an independent developer has changed massively as well. It used to be that you would target things like Xbox Live, PSN, etc. But when it costs $40,000 to put a patch out for your game to fix some bugs,
that's
demented. So people are going with Steam, they're going with the App Store, they're going with these direct sort of distribution methods. All of that stuff is entirely new over the last couple of years and has had an absolutely massive influence.
But also, I mean, even on those sort of more commercial platforms like Xbox Live Arcade, what publishers are finding is they can't really grow their own content or transfer their own brands across, and the successors are like Microsoft headhunting Limbo or Warner's finding a Bastion and putting it on there. I
think another thing though within that is that the traditional games companies, whilst slow at it initially, are now catching up with success in the digital space. We've got things like the criticised and perhaps rightfully so online pass situation, but we've also got a far greater amount of investment in companies that are very good at this. Like EA bought Playfish, Disney bought Playdom, Zynga has hoovered up virtually every independent developer that they can find. These companies are now huge and responsible for huge quantities of money, but they are more traditional games companies in that respect. EA's success in digital it should be instructive to the rest of the industry. And also just general consumer power has massively increased over the last 2 years. The Kickstarter thing's an example of that, but then so is the response to the way that the 3DS was repriced, and there was this huge campaign of giving away free games and things like that.
The problem is though, I don't think gamers feel like they've got more power. I think they feel like they've got less. I think they're really. I wrote about this in Game of the Week at the weekend. I think they feel quite confused by what's going on out there because the sands are shifting, because it's not quite clear what you get for your money when you buy a game because of DLC and online passes, and because like all of the value systems are so messed up between paying like £1.49 for a game on your phone and 40 quid for it in the shop. And it feels like, because there are very clearly these big business forces at work, and there's lots of different models flying around, I feel like gamers feel like they're on kind of rocky terrain at the moment.
Well, that's potentially true, but it's part of the growing pains of adapting to different situations. I mean, the other thing is we've got, you know, a global economic downturn and all this other crap going on at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, things will crystallise a bit more over the next few years, and people will probably have more ways of things being done, sort of tried and become successful. Others will drop away. Like, I do feel like, although there's been this massive surge in independent development and all the rest of it, that can't sustain itself. Like, there will be so many of those little companies that are trying it that won't work out. Like, not everyone can have a hit game on the App Store, and there's a gold rush at the moment, but it's not going to sustain itself. But yeah, like, the next 2 years are going to be quite interesting, really. Hopefully there will be some sort of shift that allows these larger companies to take more creative risk again. I don't know how that will come about. Maybe it requires a new generation of console where there's massive marketing investment from a platform holder, and the cycle through renewing itself allows for the success of new IP.
I think
you see that at the start of a console cycle is a bunch of franchises establish themselves. Like, you look at Xbox, games like Halo, Project Gotham, things like that, they all launched with the original Xbox, and that's how you establish them. Same sort of thing for PlayStation. They always start with new brands.
I think when platforms go fully digital, not saying that retail games won't exist, but when everything, as with PlayStation Vita, everything will be available digitally, I think that's going to make a big change. You've seen it basically with the PC over the last few years, is prices come down a bit, experimentation becomes more important, and people have much easier access on a level playing field to indie games as they do to like the big releases.
Well, I mean, companies like Microsoft, Sony to some extent, Nintendo to some extent, but also companies like Apple and Amazon are all trying now to become both the delivery mechanism and the pipeline for all the content you want in a whole bunch of different mediums. And they're all poised in different ways. Like, you know, Microsoft's Metro update for the Xbox 360, which a lot of people felt pushed traditional gaming stuff aside in favour of things like Netflix and, you know, the video services and whatnot, is a sign of things to come as these guys make a land grab for the emerging, like, box in the lounge and stream everything off the internet sort of area. And actually Microsoft's quite well poised with this, because they'll also have Windows Phone 7, which is actually quite a good operating system, and Windows 8. It's all kind of reaching fruition at the same sort of time, and with actually quite a high level of quality. Now, there was an IDG report recently which suggested that Windows Phone 7 will have more market share in terms of operating systems than iOS by like 2015, despite, you know, the millions and billions of units of you know, iOS devices that get sold, and that's not impossible to imagine. So I guess what I'm saying is there's going to be a lot of stuff.
Hopefully more stuff than there was in the last 2 years.
What do you reckon? Any fundamental major gaming changes coming in the next 2 years?
Well, I should be launching my own console into the market.
Okay.
It's called the Ellie Station No. 1, and it's basically, I've taken the bare bones of Commodore 64 and put it in a big pink sparkly box, and it's £400. You want one?
Okay, I want the Saturn.
Sold.
Nice.
Launching with what was it called? Just Tokyo Safari Dance. Yeah.
Just Farm Safari, I believe it was called.
Yes, Just Farm Safari.
Just Farm Rhino Horns.
Well, hopefully we'll see
Kart Racer.
Hopefully we'll see more crossover games as well, like Street Fighter X Tekken, but like taken in different areas. So like, I don't know quite where I'm going with this, but
more games with that geezer from Assassin's Creed in them.
Ezio, he's in a lot of stuff these days, isn't he?
Yeah.
Really. I mean, he's in Assassin's Creed and he's in, was it Tekken?
Soul Calibur.
Soul Calibur 5, sorry. Oh man, I'm seeing Namco this week and they listen to the podcast. I think it beat me up.
I am hoping, on a serious, a little part of me hopes that maybe we'll reach saturation point for all these sequels, that maybe, just maybe, there will come a day when the world realises it really doesn't need another Tiger Woods and another Call of the Duties, dare I say it, and, you know, all the rest of it, and maybe people will stop buying those games because they have just played them one too many times, and maybe there'll be some new games.
I don't think that's
but
impossible.
You know, I believe the children are our
It's definitely
future.
not. If you look at the excitement that was generated by the announcement of The Last of Us at the end of last year, when you've got a big studio like Naughty Dog coming off the back of a massive hit, Uncharted 3, and the game they're announcing is not Uncharted 4. We're doing this whole new scenario. Here's a trailer. Here's the concept of it. Here's a new story that hasn't been done in games before with new characters, and people responded incredibly positively to that, and they got really excited. And like even last year with a game like Dead Island, which wasn't an amazing game, but it was quite compelling, and again it was completely new, and it wasn't in any of these. It was a mishmash of different genres and concepts, and people responded to that really well. I think we're totally ready for that.
I was going to say, actually, even if you're a Nintendo or a Microsoft fanboy, you really want to be. I mean, you may look at Sony's troubles lately and go, well, they're screwed, ha ha ha. You really don't want Sony to go out of business. Of the platform holders, Sony, they're people who consistently invest millions of pounds in the development of new IP. Year after year after year, they announce new games done on the same scale as those big blockbuster games that are brand new. The Last of Us, The Last Guardian, Heavy Rain, the Uncharted series, Resistance. There's all this generation.
Yeah.
You know, they do this stuff over and over again. Some of it doesn't work, like Mag didn't really work, but they consistently do it. And yeah, they do sequels like everyone else, but they don't stop doing new stuff. Even Vita, right? Like Vita, you know, people are like, oh, it's never going to sell, blah blah blah. It's the best handheld games console I've ever held. It's incredible. The graphics are phenomenal. The controls, you've got so much there, and it's going to be the only console where you're going to be able to play like we were talking about FIFA and Call of Duty, like those games in the way that they are meant to be played, with decent AI and solid visuals and dual analog sticks. Sony actually spends a lot of money on making gaming better for everyone, and of course it's partly a PR exercise, but God knows we need to see more of that, because Microsoft isn't doing it, and Nintendo for their, you know, all of their qualities isn't doing it.
Yeah.
Oh,
There you go.
Dave Perry says that all TVs are going to feature cloud gaming soon.
Yeah, he's probably right. Actually, cloud gaming is a really interesting one. I ended up bizarrely having dinner with David Perry a while ago.
Ellie's looking incredibly jealous right now, by the way.
She thinks it's the game.
He's so
with
tall.
the bandana.
He's very
He's
very
like
tall.
100 miles tall, and he told me all these really amazing stories that he said I shouldn't tell people about, like, you know, driving up the side of a hill in his sports car at 100 miles an hour and that sort of thing. Anyway, like, they talk quite a good talk, those cloud gaming guys, but it is starting to come to fruition a bit more. Whether it's really relevant to the likes of us, you know, and the fact that we really care about the responsiveness of consoles and controllers and stuff, I don't know. But it may, if it's good for the mainstream in terms of lowering the barrier to the entry to amazing content that they otherwise would have to spend £400 to experience, then good.
Good eye.
Plus, as I said, he's so tall.
He's very tall.
Gaikai is pretty spooky as well, isn't it? I don't know if you've messed around with it on the site, because we've got some demos hosted on Eurogamer on Gaikai.
It is. I feel like there was I mean, they're obviously, for them, it's basically a business-to-business thing. They sell it. They sell capacity to publishers, like EA, for example, Take-Two most recently, and they work with their developers so that the game works on Gaikai, and then they try to put it into marketing campaigns or retail campaigns or whatever. The idea being that you can sample the games before they come out without actually having to own the console or be in front of a massive PC or whatever, because there's definitely a space for that. Actually, one of the things, just to go back to retail, like, that always shocks me, is I walk into a game store and you can't play anything. Like, you walk into specialist game stores and you can't play anything. It's bonkers. Anyway, this is a good thing. Like, Gaikai isn't really a service like on Live in that respect, but definitely more sampling equals better.
On that note, I remembered when I was a teenager going to Comet one day and queuing up and playing Street Fighter 2, which they just had playing on the screens, and you just queue for hours.
Yeah,
when I was at uni, I spent many a boring afternoon just playing Mario 64 in the shop before I could afford to buy a Nintendo.
I went to my local video shop, had a Saturn and Daytona USA, and I almost on the spot convinced my dad to buy it. He didn't. My life might have been very different. I never in the end had a Saturn. But I used to go to Computer Exchange in Harrow and play the latest import stuff in the shop, and then, you know, spend ridiculous amounts of money on US Super Nintendo RPGs. Like, it's staggering to me that we've gone backwards to the point where you can't play anything now.
It was a simpler time.
Yeah.
There's no money for that anymore, Tom.
No.
We're all broke.
Lewisham Dixon's, Sonic the Hedgehog, ours. Dixon's doesn't exist. Obviously, you know, we've moved on.
Also, other
but that was the
retailers are
cultural
available.
high point of Lewisham's history. That's the most cultural thing that's happened in Lewisham for the past 800 years.
Is the reason that it doesn't exist because you all rioted and destroyed it?
Pretty much, yeah.
It's like the great exhibition of Great Crystal Palace exhibition of 1890, whatever.
Yeah.
Throngs in the streets.
Burned to the ground, yeah.
Crystal Palace, eh?
Good, eh?
When they built that, didn't they have like a sparrow problem? And then everyone was like, how are we going to solve this? There's too many sparrows. And someone said, Sparrowhawk.
Right. I don't know. I could look it up.
Yeah, look it up for podcast 200.
Maybe I will.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it for podcast 100. Is there anything else to add on this?
I guess I should, like, if you've actually listened to all 100 podcasts,
We had an email, didn't we, last week from someone?
thank you so much.
We had an email from
yeah, we
someone
did.
last week who said, I've been trying to get hold of podcast 1. I almost said podcast. Podcast 1. It's not on iTunes or on the site.
Yeah,
And it was the only one
we
he
fixed
hadn't
it.
got.
That's awesome.
So respect.
Yeah,
to
like
that guy.
if you've listened to them, then thank you so much. We do them for you, even though it sounds sometimes like we're doing them for our own amusement.
Oh, and Ellie, can you give us a hyphen?
I'll try and say. Well, I was just going to say, I'd like to ask you guys, what's been your favourite moment of all the podcasts? What's been your podcast highlight? For me, it was
God,
a joke
there's so
I
many.
did about someone called Mike Hunt. That's my number one fondest memory of being on the podcast.
What a beautiful moment that was.
I did one with Christian Donlan and Matthew Handrahan from GamesIndustry.biz when no one else was around because everybody was at Gamescom last year, and we just sort of snuck in here and we just talked about games for 40 minutes for an hour actually, and it was awesome. That was really good fun.
I'm trying to think. There's a couple really. I mean, one of my favourites was at the Eurogamer Expo in 2010 with Ed Stern, Max Kaufman, and Tim Willits, and particularly because I was so hungover, it was insane. Like, I remember sitting in a chair in the organiser's office, and James Hills, our cameraman, walked in and laughed at my face because I was so hungover. I had to go and lie on the floor for an hour and then do this podcast, and I loved doing that. And also, Tim Willett is one of my favourite chaps in games, so it was nice to chat about crap with him for like an hour. Other than that, there's definitely the time where we nearly had a fight because we were doing a quiz and
Oh, the Christmas family fight.
That was
I remember
good,
that.
yeah.
It all got a little bit close to the bone.
testy.
The E3 podcasts I did with John Tatey last year.
Oh, they
those
were
were brilliant.
They were good.
I remember when Tom came on one and he felt a bit dressed down because me and John Tatey were both wearing ties to broadcast because that's how we roll.
Incidentally, just for the benefit of everyone, I am actually wearing a Free Rage t-shirt today. My wardrobe, even at 28, is basically
What free t-shirt did I get yesterday?
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful.
Tom, what's been your highlight?
Well, we joked about it earlier, but I still think the Venga Boys won. Even though it was universally hated by everyone.
That means it's good art.
There was something so stupid about it.
And the one where you got a load of different people to do news jingles, and they were all completely amazing. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
good.
that was
They
good.
were
What about when we had
amazing.
Charles Cecil? He was great. I love Charles
I wasn't
Cecil.
there for all the ones that were actually good. There's a pattern.
Charles Cecil was good.
And that desert island. Oh, we can't say that for copyright reasons. What do we call it? Sandy Island
Sandy
Game.
Island Game.
The music for
Metabet.
that was wicked.
Yeah. Oh,
Metabet.
Metabet.
Go on about Metabet.
We should add all the jingles that we ever received onto the end of this podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
What are some other crap features we did and then ditched?
God.
Oh, there was that one.
That was
I
it.
can't
That
remember.
one
was
about
about
the
it, really.
games, and then
Yeah, talking about games we've been playing, got rid of that. Anyway, I think that's it, isn't it?
It
Thank
is.
you very much to Ollie Welsh,
Thank you.
Tom Bramwell,
Thank you.
to Ellie. It's
Hi.
good to see you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I've been
you.
Tom Champion. Thank you very much for bearing with us over the last couple of years, if you have been listening this long. Or even the last 45 minutes, actually.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.